Okay.
Hey, what's up, guys? So thanks for tuning in. So today I am actually interviewing a mobility trainer. She's from Brazil. So it's perfect for my jiu-jitsu community because the majority are probably background in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So we're going to talk about how I'm into it as well, functional range conditioning and mobility training, and what's called Kinstretch, which is just another name of like a class setting for FRC, can benefit not just the jiu-jitsu community, but benefit everybody, but especially the jiu-jitsu community because of joint manipulation, which is what jiu-jitsu is. So the stronger and more mobile your joints are, the less likely you are to get hurt. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about. So I'm sorry, it's TS, right? Thais. And she's from where in Brazil?
São Paulo.
São Paulo. So we were talking about the guy yesterday, and explain to everybody exactly what FRC is and what mobility training is.
FRC is strength training for your joints. It's kind of a different type of mobility training because we think about mobility training like movement training or flexibility training. And one day I heard that flexibility is not good for jiu-jitsu practitioners because it's not good for me be a lot of flexible because I don't have control of my flexibility. If I have a lot of flexibility, you put me in this range of motion and I don't have control here. I don't have strength to put me back.
Right.
And FRC is different. I want to have this lots of range of motion, but I want to have control and strength here. And this is the most important thing in jiu-jitsu. You need to expand your range of motion to have good control of your movements, and you need to have resilient joints. What does this mean?
Right.
I don't know if I'm speaking the right.
You're doing fine. Don't worry about it.
What does it mean? When you have a joint with a good capacity of absorption of force, it allows you to have less injury. Okay. The weakest point of jiu-jitsu practitioners is the joints. Yeah, you have all your armbar, leg locks, everything is in the joints. Okay. And if you have more range of motions and you can absorb the forces in these joints, in these arm bars, you can hold it better and you can prevent these injuries. And if you train your joint to be resilient in these end ranges,
right?
So
let's back up a little bit just so I can explain to everybody what you're kind of saying. So a couple points that she was saying previously was she was talking about the difference between active range of motion and passive range of motion. So when she says flexibility, guys, what she's talking about is basically an external thing that gets you into the requested range of motion, or active range of motion is an internal thing where you're basically actively with muscle recruitment causing the range of motion that you desire. So she's saying that flexibility, that passiveness is dangerous for the jiu-jitsu person because you're not strong in that position, or active range of motion, you're going to get, it may take longer, but you're going to get to that same range of motion, but you're going to do it with strength, which then in turn makes you strong in those mobile positions. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when you say capacity at the joint level, you're talking about the end range where like the full extension, like let's say an arm bar, where the full extension of the elbow, that they're strong in that range.
Yes.
So how do you do that? Explain to the people, because most people don't know what FRC is.
When you train the end ranges. Né? You put the strength training in the end ranges. Né? You go to the end range, stop in the end range, and you train there. You put the strength train with the right techniques and the right efforts, but in that end ranges.
Right.
Okay, and you go there and you train there.
Right.
And you train your joint, the resilience and the ability, the capacity of absorption force in that end ranges.
Okay. So it sounds like the program, it strengthens the at the tendon level. So it feels like it's not at the
capsule level.
at the actual capsule level. So it's like the tendon. So from my understanding from FRC is that the majority of us, well, not the majority of us, the way normal working out has always been is we work out in like the middle part of the muscle tissue. So the muscle has one tendon here and one tendon here, and then in the middle is the actual muscle, even though they're like kind of the same thing. So
everything is the same thing.
They're the same. It's just most people don't know they're the same thing. So I'm just trying to explain it. So just so that everybody knows too, like there's the muscle and the tendon, it's the same thing. It's just, it has like different principles, but they're basically the same thing. So like all the machines, like the weightlifting stuff and all that other stuff, like if you really look at the machines are based on the strength curve of the actual muscle. So in other words, the machines that most of us work out with are like in that middle zone, and the machines are actually designed to be in that middle zone. So what you never do is you never work on each end of the tendon side. So one tendon here, one tendon here, you never work out that kind of side. You only work out in the middle. So that for an athlete, especially for us that are jiu-jitsu people, is what the dangerous part is. Because if this is very strong and this each end of it is very strong, and this is where we're in danger because someone's trying to break our arm, is where it's going to be easier for us to get hurt.
Yes.
Exactly. Okay.
Exactly.
My biggest obstacle when I started the FRC at the same time with jiu-jitsu was it's a different type of soreness. It's like not the normal sore. It's like, I don't know how to explain it. Like it's just like you feel fatigue without like any type of like muscle tenderness, at least at the very beginning. And it affected a little bit of my jiu-jitsu a little bit because the FRC community only does FRC. So like some of the stuff, the mobility training that I feel like as a person that does it myself is too, how do I put it? It's like too much to combine it with like jiu-jitsu sometimes. Like the more advanced mobility stuff, like was making me tired to do jiu-jitsu. Does that make sense?
Yes, in the beginning, mainly because it's a lot of neurological demand. The capsule information has a lot of communication with your brain. Okay, the mechanoreceptors that the neurons of informations that send informations to your brain about movement and everything is inside of the capsule. When you work mobility training like FRC, you work just right with them. Right. When you work, then you work with a lot of more motor control and everything, and your neurological system has a lot of demand and stay a lot of fatigue in the beginning. And when you start improving, getting better, you start staying less fatigue, and you can combine with them. But in the beginning, it's a lot of stress, and you stay like, I wanna stop the train and get a nap. I need to rest and everything. But when you get more control, but did you feel when you get along the train that your control with the movements, with the technique, with the jiu-jitsu got better?
Yes. I felt like I felt like I got more comfortable, if that makes sense. Like, in
Yeah.
other words, how do I put it? You don't feel it like when you do the jiu-jitsu, you don't feel it necessarily like at the joint level. What you feel is
More connected with your body.
less scared of weakness, if that makes sense. So it's not like I feel like stronger necessarily at the joint level, but what I would feel is I felt comfortable in places where I didn't used to feel comfortable. So which obviously means that there was like a strength increase of some sort, but there's no, like, it's not like you do like when you do normal working out, like you work out and you're like, all right, I got big arms. You feel power and strength in the bicep or the arm. This is not like that. What you do is you feel like an overall like arm strength. Like you feel like your whole arm feels strong instead of just my bicep, like what you get from like normal working out. And it was good. Like, yeah, it's definitely something that is beneficial for the jiu-jitsu community. Because one, for me, I think, because I feel like FRC not only increases mobility, but it creates a balance from the repetitive motion of jiu-jitsu, because jiu-jitsu is all flexion, fingers flexed, shoulders flexed, arms flexed, spine flexed. And the person that does jiu-jitsu does it 2 to 6 days a week. So if you're in this position for 1 to 2 hours,
at least
every time you go 6 to 10 hours a week, at the end of the month, you're talking 40 hours in a crunched position. It's going to start to cause issues. It may not cause issues now. It's going to cause issues in a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And then you go to do something simple in jiu-jitsu and you're all of a sudden you tore an ACL, or you hurt your shoulder somehow. And then you're like, oh no, it was because I was doing this one move. Really? Was it really that move? Or was it the 5 years of the bad motion that you were doing that finally your body couldn't take it and then you got hurt?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You need to how you said, balance your system.
Correct.
To do the other things to rebalance your system, to continue practicing that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you've gotten so slim. What did you change?
Yeah.
Did you change your diet? What did you change?
Everything. Mind, body, mind.
Yeah, but like within the
Workout.
last, I would say within the last like 2 months. Like,
Yes.
I've been kind of following you now for a while, but within the last 2 months, it's like it's noticeable now. Did you change? What did you change the last couple of months? Did you change your diet or something, or just
Nothing.
no? You
Nothing.
just
No.
somehow
Yes.
you hit like you overcame whatever hill that you
Yes.
overcame, and then it just changed.
Yes. Nothing. Nothing. Like the life. I haven't done nothing different.
So explain to people also, do you have you're a trainer here, but you also teach back health? Is that what you do? Spine health?
Yes, spine
Okay.
health.
So explain that a little bit.
A lot of people suffer about low back pain, with low back pain. It's since from now young people, from old people, normal people, athletes, everybody, because you said a lot, many hours seated, many hours doing things that they don't do. They don't care about the spine. They don't care about stability. They don't care about mobility. And the low back suffers a lot. And they think about that only strength weight lifts can hold all the stabilization, and there's not. The first thing that can help your low back the first mechanism to help your back, your whole system is the breathing, né? And people don't pay attention about it.
That is something that I just recently have been learning, because I never got taught that. So I've always got, that's actually incorrect. I breathe. What gets taught to breathing is just regular breathing in the normal fitness, but not diaphragm breathing. And that's where I was not understanding it, because I have, even myself, I have an injury from when I was a kid. And now that I've gotten older, it pops up more. And I'm going to see, I see an FRR guy, a functional range release practitioner. He's a physician. And basically that's what he told me. He's like, man, you're not breathing properly. He goes, so I got to teach you how to breathe properly. And you got to breathe. He's like, you got good flexibility. You got good mobility. You understand how to move your body. But the reason why you're feeling pain is because you're not starting from the center, and your diaphragm is not working properly. And let me tell you, I've gone to see him, I would say 3 or 4 times, maybe a little bit more. I'm actually going to see him later today. It's dramatic. Like, it's a dramatic difference. Like doing those little breathing exercises and pushing the diaphragm down, expanding the center, and just practice breathing, and then doing like cars with that tension, night and day. I feel like now when I do other activities, because I do a lot of body weight exercises, I feel that the mobility and the flexibility that I have, I'm actually able to access easily now, because of me just being able to come strong in the center, which is great. I didn't even know, and I've been doing fitness for like a really long time. I didn't understand how important the diaphragmatic breathing is.
It's the primary system of the body, because the problem with the breathing is you can do it unconsciously and consciously. I don't know how to say this.
Unconsciously and consciously, yeah.
Yes. And how you can do it unconsciously? You can just breathing. And with the problems of the modern world, the stress, you only breathing here.
Yeah.
And when you breathe, you do the chest breathing, not the diaphragm breathing. Everything here is forgotten, is died.
Yeah.
Né? Is dead.
Hold on 1 second, okay? Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. So keep going with the diaphragm breathing.
And if the diaphragm is a muscle to help you to breathe. And if you don't use this and you use the pressurization, help me with this word, pressurization, the pressure.
Yeah. Pressurization. I can't even say it.
Yes, the pressure. The pressure to protect your low back. Now, you lower your diaphragm. You use this pressure to let your low back protected. Okay, now you lower.
Explain that a little bit. I kind of understand it, but I don't understand it. Like the doctor he explained it to me, but I'm still not 100%. Like how does, so the diaphragm, if I'm understanding correctly, the diaphragm goes up and down.
Up and down.
Push,
Yes.
it helps push
Yes.
air out of the
Yes.
lungs, and then
Yes.
and then it gives space so the air can come into the lungs. How does that diaphragmic breathing?
The diaphragm goes down, and the air goes into the lungs. Okay, and it takes off space into the organs, and it goes down. The pelvic floor goes up, and you know the transverse abdominal.
Yeah, the transverse abdominis.
Yes, they eccentric contract and hold the abdominal.
So it does
abdominal wall and hold it, doing a package. Okay, and you know this. For example, I'm here. Okay, this when I breathe here, everything here is loose. Okay, when I breathe with my diaphragm, I down my ribs.
Okay.
And here, see, my abdomen stays firm, and everything is rigid. Here is the stabilization.
Okay.
And I have stability of my low back.
Gotcha.
I can range, and everything can bend.
Right.
Okay. And here.
Okay, so
this is why it's neutral back, you know,
right?
Because I down my ribs. I can't go with down my diaphragm with my hips.
Yeah, but that's that right there. What you just finished saying is why I never learned it properly, because the way the fitness industry is now is that you think that like that abdominal rectus abdominis, which is the six-pack that everybody wants, so that when you see the trainers now that they talk, they're like, okay, cinch here. But what they're doing is they're not teaching the person to push the diaphragm down. And I never learned it. I used to do it myself. So I would crunch, but I would do it from my rectus abdominis, the superficial muscle. And that's where I was incorrect, because, and that's the thing that the doctor showed me, is that it's, even though the reaction is happening like what you said.
You said flexion.
Yeah, you're doing it from the
flexion, not diaphragm.
Yeah.
You did it flexion.
Correct.
The trunk, not ribs down.
Yeah, exactly. And that's,
because
I feel like that's the norm. The norm is what I was doing. Everyone does it that way, because they always tell you like strong center, be strong here. But
what to do pose. Yes. And for women, it's the opposite. You want to show your butt, and you put your hips up.
Mm-hmm.
And for women, it's the opposite. We have always the ribs up, and everything is loose here.
Right.
How can I bring my ribs back? And when I'm teaching the certification, the first thing I need to teach the others professionals is to breathe. You need to know to expand your diaphragm in 3 planes.
Yeah.
Front, side, and back, because they expanded 3-dimensionally. Tri-dimensional?
No, 3-dimensional. Yeah.
3-dimensional.
Yeah. So I'm going to kind of like summarize a little bit what you were saying. So you guys understand what she's trying to explain, because I want to kind of like, we're talking like we're understanding each other, but I want to make sure that people that are watching that don't understand what we're talking about, I can explain it in a simpler way. So the core, the center, guys, is basically like what everyone sees, is made up of a few different muscles. So you have the obliques on each side of your body. You have your rectus abdominis, which is the six-pack that everybody sees. You have the transverse abdominis, which is it's basically what they call the nature's weight belt. It wraps all the way around your body to your back. And then you have all your erectors, which is your lower back muscles. So what she's talking about is the diaphragm breath pushes the muscle, the diaphragm goes up and down. It goes this way. This is basically what it does when you breathe. So if you have horrible breathing, instead of it doing this, it does this. It's a shorter range of motion. And so what happens with that shorter range of motion, the muscles that are down here don't understand how to contract and eccentric, contract and eccentric from the cinching part of the body. So the diaphragmatic breathing, what it does is it forces all the pressure to go down, and it forces your midsection to expand. And when that expansion happens, the transverse abdominis, the rectus abdominis, the erectors then can expand, relax, and then contract downwards. Expand, relax, contract downwards. So you not only get a breath that's better, longer, because you're able to take in more oxygen, more air, but at the same time, your muscles, your obliques, your rectus abdominis, your erectors get a little bit of a break, because the transverse abdominis is able to expand and contract in order to do that. Because for my issue was I could feel it. I was not breathing properly. And my erectors were like a big knot, like they're just like rocks. And that's because my transverse abdominis and my diaphragm were not working properly. So for me, my body it's a safety mechanism. It's trying to compensate. And then all of a sudden, all my erectors are on fire. So my lower back it was killing me. It was all a big ball. So literally within like the second session of me doing the diaphragmatic breathing, I could feel in my lower back. And so all of a sudden I'm like, wow, like it wasn't a relief of pain. It was like that relief of like when someone like massages you and they hit that right spot and you feel this like euphoria of like, oh, ecstasy. You're like, oh my God, this feels amazing. And it was just me learning how to do this with my diaphragm, and pushing it down and expanding it out. So did I explain it right?
Yes, if you don't breathe correctly, you don't position your body to the other muscles work.
Mm.
And other muscles will need to do the works that everything, they compensate the work that they do. They need to do what they don't do to compensate other things that aren't doing what they need to do.
Say that again. That was good. That was good. Oh. Say that again.
If you don't breathe well,
okay,
your body don't take the position to your muscles to do what they need to do. Your don't position needs to your core do the work.
I got you.
Like you said, my transverse abdomen doesn't work, so my lower back had to do a lot of work that they don't need, so they tension, and I was feeling a lot of pain.
Okay. So basically, in other words, you're saying that the breathing is if the breathing is correct, then you get into the correct position for the muscles to do what they're supposed to do.
Yes.
I got you.
But your body is perfect. Okay. They need to work efficiently. Yeah. Okay. Jairo needs to live. Okay. Jairo needs to live, and he needs to. Jairo needs to live, and he needs to do the things. Okay. If his transverse abdomen doesn't work, he needs to walk. He needs to do these things. Who needs to do? Who's going to do the work that transverse abdomen isn't doing? Any muscle in his low back.
Anything, yeah. Anything. And that's where I feel like a lot of, at least in the jiu-jitsu world, I feel also that that we get a lot of like anterior hip pain, like on the front side of our hip. But at first I thought it was an overworking of the psoas muscle. I thought because of the fact that because in order for, just to teach you, because you don't do jiu-jitsu, when you're retaining guard, you're basically pinning your knee to your chest. And so it's an excessive amount of hip flexion, a lot of hip flexion. So I was thinking like, man, is it because my psoas muscle is being so overworked that it's pulling on my spine? And now I thought that, but now that I've learned this whole diaphragmatic breathing, now I know it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that my diaphragm is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. And the pain that I was feeling is not really, it's not really the hip that's causing the pain. The pain is just a symptom of the actual problem, which is me not knowing how to breathe properly. So that's what I've noticed now. And it's like, that's the common thing. And so one of the things that would be great is I feel like not enough people know about this. Like no one talks about this. Nobody goes, by the way, guys, you have to learn how to diaphragm breathe. Not breathe because it's very big. Like you watch yoga now, and yoga is very breathing and the spiritual aspect of it, which is great. It's good for the mind. It's good for the mind and it feels good for the body.
The bonus.
It's a bonus, yeah. But like the diaphragmatic breathing, for me, it's an exercise. It's not the spiritual shit that you see in yoga where you're like, okay, breath in and breath out, hold your breath. That I feel like that stuff is good. But this to me, when I was doing it, it's a workout. It's like I'm doing 3 to 5 reps. And by the 4th rep, I'm like, I don't know where I need to do it. Like I'm exhausted to where my diaphragm doesn't communicate anymore.
And it's neurological also.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, you just have to learn how to do it more than anything else. Cool. So what would you like? How can someone then incorporate mobility into, this is where it gets tricky for me because I don't know exactly how to do it. I created now a program that helps, that's on the very basic level for joint strength training that I feel that the beginner person can do that won't infringe on their jiu-jitsu. Because at the very beginning, like we talked earlier, it was neurologically taxing, and then it was affecting my jiu-jitsu. So how does someone like incorporate the mobility training that's not going to affect their jiu-jitsu? Because the flexibility, the yoga, the passive range of motion feels good. Like there's a reward. It's like having a dessert. Where like mobility training is not like that. It's a workout, but the workout can't be too much to where it affects the jiu-jitsu. Does that make sense?
Yes. It depends, Haru. Depends if you have, for example, twice a week, if you can work out in the morning, jiu-jitsu, and you can train mobility at night, and you can sleep later.
Okay.
After the mobility, it's great, for example.
So you would recommend twice a week?
More. Twice a week. Mobility, if you want to be better at mobility, you have to work out every day. For example, you need to do cars every day. It's the basic things. The basic thing to start to take care of your joints is to cars daily routine. Okay.
By the way, explain what cars are. What are cars?
Cars is a sequence of one movement. Is a rotational movement for each joint that it's going to lubrication.
It's going to what?
Lubrication. To restore fluids to your joint, to give movement to your joint, like to brush your teeth.
Okay.
For your joint, it's the primary movements of your joint. It's like
so wait. I like that. Wait a minute. So cars I like that a lot actually.
It's like
cars is like brushing your teeth for your joints.
Yes, you need to do it.
It's like something that you have to do. It's a cleaning of your teeth, just like a cleaning of your joints. Wow, I never thought of it that way. That's a good way of saying that.
Every day. Yes, because it's the only way to take care of your joint is through movement. Okay, it's you can drink water, you can have the better diet, but if you don't move your joint, you can't give health for it. Okay, through the movement that your bone makes through the capsule. Yes, you you produce. You bring the hyaluronic acid into the capsule. You don't have blood into the capsule. Okay, there's no way to give nutrients in there. You produce your own liquid into the capsule. Okay, through movement. When you do cars in the morning, you are producing this movement, this liquid. Okay.
Are we talking about the synovial fluid? That's what, or are you talking about?
Yes. Okay. You produce your own.
Okay.
When you are doing cars, you are doing it. You are nutrient.
Interesting. I never thought of it that way. So so it's you're creating your own lubrication.
Yes. This is why you need to do it every day.
Cars are WD-40 for your joint.
Yes. Yes.
I like that.
It prevents arthrosis.
I like that a lot, actually. I didn't
even think this is why it's good to do in the morning, because you were sleeping and you wake up and you do in the morning. You prepare your joints for the day. You are activating your tissues, okay, and do lubricating and nutrition and giving oxygen for your joint. Yes, it's not mobility training. It's giving your joint the health for the day, for your life. It's the basic one. Okay, and then you have mobility training.
Yeah, which is the strength training part. So cars is the foundation. So if I'm understanding correctly, then to have overall joint health is start with your breathing, because your breathing is a major factor for one, hopefully you don't have lower back pain, but just overall health.
Yes.
And cars are lubrication for all the joints.
Yes.
And then the actual mobility training is the strength training at the end ranges. Each end of the thing. Yeah.
The problem is, Hiram, fitness industry. And I say, because I have 20 years of working in this area.
Okay.
They put in your head that take care of our body is beautiful and with six packs and beautiful asses and everything. And it's not like this.
Right.
Yes, we have a complexity body. It needs to be cared, and we spend time and effort and everything. And now we are paying the price because of that. Injuries and pain and stress and everything. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, that's where it goes back to the conversation I had with the strength and conditioning coach. He worked yesterday, or was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. He worked with a bunch of sports teams. He did tennis, baseball, a bunch of stuff. And that was one of the factors is that they do a lot of prehab. And so the stuff that they do is but they actually have like a physical therapist there that kind of helps them out. So they have the strength and conditioning coach. They'll have like a physical therapist. They'll have like a dietitian to help out like the athlete. So like I can see that if it works on the sport level, in other words, all the stuff that people do at the high level sports is the stuff that you should be doing as an individual person, but at a lower level, because the athlete is trying to avoid getting hurt and maximize their movement for their sport. So if the athlete is doing it, then why the fuck is not the normal person doing it? It's like that's the part that I feel like is a little bit of a disconnect with the masses. It's like, unless you're like a bodybuilder, and whether you do jiu-jitsu or you do whatever sport you do, because everyone usually has some type of hobby, even if it's skateboarding or bike riding or whatever your hobby is, you're not doing it for vanity purposes. You're not doing it to basically look in the mirror and say, hey, I want a six pack. You want to help your body be optimal for your life.
Yeah.
For you to wake up in the morning, go to work, and do whatever sport that you want to do, whether it's biking, swimming, jiu-jitsu, whatever it may be. And those are the things that what a lot of the athletes do that people don't understand that they do. Like, they watch what they eat. They have a physical therapist that tells them, okay, we're going to work on your joint strength. They have a strength and conditioning coach that's going to be like, okay, we're going to come up with a plan. That's all the strength and conditioning coach does, is they just come up with a plan and they go, okay, you're messing up here. We're going to put you more with the physical therapist. You're not doing well here. We're going to then do like a plan for the ability to do that. But people don't take it like that. It's like you said, I feel like because of social media, not only because of social media, but because of yeah, it's always been like that. But it's always been like this, I want a six pack or I want a big ass. It's like, dude, like, that's great. And I get it. But do you live that life? Or do you wake up, go to an office, go home, and you want to be able to get out of bed easily and be able to play your sport? Or is it that you want to look good in the mirror?
You asked me how many times a week does a person needs to work with mobility, okay? I asked. It depends. For example, what's your goal? How much do you need to get better in mobility, okay? How much time do you have to spend on it? For you to have a basic result, 3 times a week, cars every day, it's not negotiable. Okay. And if you have 3 times a week with a serious commitment, 3 times a week, you have a good. But for example, everything you are starting, it's hard. You are learning something new. Okay, it will demand, and you felt it's a neurological process. It will demand a lot of physical, a lot of your brain, and it will get fatigue. But when you are going to improve, now I can do 2 hours of FRC. Other day I did 2 hours and a half. I did one Zach's class and one Christina's class. With an interval of 1 hour, because I'm studying, I'm doing, and I'm testing myself. Okay, I was tired after, but I can. Yeah. So it's a process, but you need to say, I'm going to give a step back, because I know that it's important for me, and now I know that if I'm going to be better here, there I'm going to be much better. Okay, so if I plan, when you are an athlete, you need to plan your things. How much this will be better for me now, then I need to give attention to right there in a plan, will be better for my competition, to mitigate injuries. I won't dismiss or won't lose competition because I'm injured. Okay, in the beginning, it will be so hard because you are learning. But then when you start the 1 year, because it's a process, it depends on you. Now it's three times a week, but then you are going better. Your body is corresponding, you are going better. And then you are doing it every day for 4 minutes a day. Because you are knowing the process, you know the exercise, and you are knowing, you are connected, you don't need to think a lot, you go there and you do it. You know, that 1 hour that you did for exercise, now you do it in 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's one thing that I must admit that people, you guys watching the jiu-jitsu community, if you decide to do FRC, understand that the workout part, the actual strength training part, you don't get to at the very beginning. Like, I feel like what you're saying, and I felt it myself, is that at the very beginning, the workout that you're actually doing is neurological. basically what's happening is that your body doesn't know how to communicate properly to your joints. So when you first start, the process or the learning curve is really you're working out your nervous system. In other words, your joint at the joint level, at the end range level, is your body is just learning how to communicate to itself until you get to the point where you're at. That's crazy. You did 2.5. That's crazy that you did a class with Zach and Christina. You're crazy. 2 and 1 behind the other. You
Two
could do
classes
2
of
hours.
reflection.
I wouldn't be able to do that. Like I know for a fact that I do not have that type of strength. I max out. In fact, I've taken Zach's courses before, and I messaged him. I'm like, I had to stop it for a minute. It was too taxing. Like it was too much of a workout for me because I was doing jiu-jitsu 6 days a week, 6-7 days a week, 2 to 3 hours a day. I was doing jiu-jitsu. Plus I was doing yoga like 2 or 3 times a week. So at the very beginning, I took his course and I was like, man, like 3 weeks in, I was like, I didn't quit, but I was like, I can't do the amount of classes that you want. Like I had to cut it back to half. In other words, I had to do 1 and then I had to keep doing the cars, but it was a neurological thing. It was basically my body learning where to recruit the muscles in order for me to do the movement that I want, that he was requesting of me. And that's where I kind of want to warn people. Like if you decide to do Kinstretch in a class setting, understand that at the very beginning, it's not strength training, it's neurological training that turns into strength training. So as you learn and your body learns how to communicate with itself, then you get to the point where you're actually doing the strength training. Because I didn't understand that at the very beginning because no one really explained it to me. Like I didn't get the fact that at the very beginning it's neurological. So the fatigue and the soreness and the exhaustion you feel is not at the muscle, even though it is at the muscle level, but it's not the normal muscle soreness that everyone is aware of. It's your nervous system's like, what's going on? I've never been in this situation before. And it gets fatigued because of that exhaustion of like trying to understand what you're requesting from it.
Yeah.
2 hours, man. Wow, that's crazy. You're well, yeah. Well, you guys take that. That's what I'm saying. Like I do FRC, but you guys are like, this is all you do. Like all you do is mobility. And I 2 hours, I wouldn't be able to do that. No. How was I was supposed to take Christine's class, but something came up. I wasn't able to take it. How was it this past week on Wednesday?
It's very different from Zach's class.
Yeah,
I like because it's different versions of teaching.
Like teaching, like how? What do you mean?
Zach is more dynamic. He put a lot of different exercises in the same class, and she puts much more time under tension for stretches and less different exercise.
Yeah, so yeah, I'd say that's another thing too. Like it's interesting.
It's different.
You know what? It might be
different ways of using the same tools.
Yeah, but it might be because of jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
Because she's a jiu-jitsu person. Because that's one of the things that I felt with Zach. I felt with Zach was, for me, because of jiu-jitsu, I felt like it was too many exercises. That a good example is I felt like the pails and rails system that at the very beginning where you start, like, because I've taken his I've taken the beginner course. Like I felt like the curve was too fast for someone that trained as much as I trained for jiu-jitsu. That might be the reason why I think maybe Christine, because she's also, she does jiu-jitsu and she's a cyclist, I think too.
Yes.
She may do like less exercises because she knows that if she does more exercises, it's going to maybe affect her jiu-jitsu and her cycling and her other activities that she does. So she has to it's the same modalities, but maybe cut it back a little bit. So she focuses on 2 to 4 things, where Zach is like, okay, we're only doing mobility. We're maximizing the strength curve for mobility. So he adds in like maybe like another 3 or 4 exercises, which makes it more intense, but then it builds more strength. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Different ways to using the tools, né? Different versions. Each one is like I teach functional training, and she teaches functional training. But I use the tools with my vision, and she used the tools like her vision.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what's your vision? What is it you're trying to do?
I like to mix them both. Some class with more payers and rails, and some class more dynamics. I like to mix them both. I like the vision, and now I'm using a little more flexibility, né? And I'm having a good results.
Yeah, I see that you're getting into the almost like the full split. I saw some of the stuff that you've posted. That I'm telling you, your mobility is getting really good. Like because I've been following you now. It's got to be like close to 2 years now, like a year and a half now. And you were good before, but now you're like at another level. Like you're becoming a mobility athlete is what you're becoming.
Yes, I'm put a lot of effort now,
Yeah,
and I'm starting my program, and I'm studying a lot. I'm pushing hard to testing myself. I think as a training that I'm now teaching other professionals with this. My body is a study, is a laboratory, and so I'm studying, I'm training, I'm testing everything. So I'm using it.
So for the people that follow me, remember she's in Brazil, so she speaks Portuguese. So her content's going to be in Portuguese. So if you're, obviously if you're Jiu-Jitsu and you're Brazilian and you want to incorporate mobility, I would suggest following her. I don't know if you have an online program or whatever, but go follow her on social media. Go follow her on social media, because if English is something that you're not 100% comfortable with, you might as well go do it in your native language and go listen to her, because she's going to speak in Portuguese because she's in Brazil. So yeah, thanks. This was great. We should do this more. It was nice seeing you, and then we'll be talking soon.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Sorry about the English.
No, the English was perfect. It's better than my Portuguese, so don't worry. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. At the end of this, I'm going to add her social media so you can find her. And stay informed, man. All right, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.